Well, when it comes to theme parks and things people enjoy about theme parks, wait times are one of the things that people enjoy the least. And theme parks are often many times trying to monetize selling you on services where you don't have to wait as long because they know this is one of the things about the product that they offer that people don't like. And obviously, Universal and Disney both sell cut the line systems. Disney having changed theirs quite a bit recently, but it is always something that is a thing for people, going at least busy time so you don't have to wait as long, and it makes complete sense so you can get the most out of the money you're spending to go to these theme parks because they're not cheap. It's a delicate balance act that I don't think anybody ever gets perfect, and obviously theme parks are always looking at ways to curb these because if you're not waiting in line, you could potentially be spending more money in the theme park, doing other things. And I think that's something that they've always been trying to look at. And then on this topic, we have an article from Orlando Business Journal that says how Orlando theme parks like Universal and Disney are tackling long wait times. So I figured this would be a good article to read through and get some thoughts on the topic because I think this is something that especially going forward as Disney and Universal are going to continue to go against each other, that I think wait times are going to be one of those things that are going to become a pretty big deal in terms of who does them better, in terms of where people want to spend their money on the things that are being offered. So we're going to read through this and get some thoughts on it. So hi, I'm Jared with Capture the Magic, and this is by Sarah Kinbar, and this is again the Orlando Business Journal. So Orlando's theme parks are bustling with visitors at this time of year, and with the influx of crowds come long wait times for park entry and rides. Here's the problem. Nobody likes waiting in line. True. Technologists? Is technologist a thing? I have never heard that term. Is that like a tech scientist? I've never heard that. Okay. Can't say I've ever heard that word before. Technologists at the major theme park companies are constantly devising two kinds of solutions. One is inventions that shorten wait times. The other is inventions that make wait times feel shorter. The second approach may seem futile, but data and research suggest it's not. When guests feel like their wait was shorter, they are more likely to have positive memories about their visit, which can lead to repeat visits and favorable recommendations. Take Universal Destinations and Experiences recently published patent for a new kind of horizontal revolving gate, which controls the flow of guests into and out of attractions. As you approach the entrance, instead of a static barrier or a turnstile, you enter a gate that moves in response to your approach, rotating to allow you through while stopping the flow of the crowd. This is expected to feel more seamless and less like you are waiting in line as compared with the standard static barrier. The system is also more responsive with sensors detecting when the gate is engaged and triggering the moving pathway to respond accordingly, managing the flow of people more effectively. It's very interesting. I mean, it's one thing, like this is one reason why you see, now ride queues have much more storytelling aspects. If you've ridden Flight of Passage over in Pandora at Disney World, you go in there and you go in one part, then you go in another part that's got a video. It makes you feel like you're still waiting in line, but you feel like you're experiencing part of the story and it doesn't feel as long. And I think, you've seen that with Rise of the Resistance. Obviously, Universal has done this as well with like the queues. You go through Hogwarts, you go through Gringotts, in terms of Harry Potter stuff, like you're seeing things that are visually really cool that doesn't make it seem as bad to wait in line. So I think both lowering the amount of time you wait, and then when you are in line, it does have more of a storytelling aspect, is something that guests do enjoy. So I think both of those parks have been doing that. Now, in terms of this patent from Universal, having these types of systems could potentially move much quicker. I'm sure they would have a team member nearby. People had issues with their ticket that would come over, maybe move them out of line to fix it. But these are things like, they've implemented the facial recognition software now to get into the park, which I will say, as somebody, I was very hesitant on it. It works very well. It usually will work for me even when I'm wearing wearing a hat and sunglasses, and it still recognizes me. You don't have to worry about the fingerprint. We've always had issues with our kids, whether that's at Disney or Universal, with the fingerprint, because sometimes their fingers are too small to read it. So one of us would have to do it, and it would go back and forth. And it's just always one of those things that took a lot of time there, but the facial recognition end of things has worked very well. So I do wonder with the Epic Universe, if they do have this system in place. This seems like something they may be doing, because I do believe with Epic Universe going online, that is when Universal is going to implement their facial recognition express pass system, as they are installing those cameras all over the park currently. And if Epic Universe does open with express pass, I do imagine it will also have it there with the facial recognition cameras and just have it all over Universal property would be my guess. Another technology revealed in a recent Universal patent filing could put a dent in wait times. A unified across control system that compares biometric data, facial recognition, or wearable devices against guest enrollment databases. Think about entering a theme park. Instead of a turnstile or a person scanning your ticket, you approach an automated entrance where sensors quickly scan your identification data. If all is in order, the gate opens and you move through without delay. The system would aim to make entry to the park much faster and more efficient than today's processes. There's a plethora of data showing how waiting in line impacts people. A 2019 survey by Arrival magazine indicated that the difference between a 30 to 60 minute wait and under 10-minute wait more than doubles an attraction's perceived value regardless of the attraction's actual quality. A 2019 study on theme park satisfaction by researchers at University of Central Florida looked at guest experience and how certain factors affect how guests remember their visit and build, level, or diminish their loyalty to the theme park. The authors noted that effective queuing, managing people while they wait, boosts loyalty, satisfaction, and pleasure. The Walt Disney Company is just invested as Universal in solving the wait time dilemma. The October 16th announcement of the pilot of Lightning Lane Premier Pass at Disney World was met with mixed reaction due to the expense ranging from $129 to $449 per person, which is sold through My Disney Experience app. Demand has been high anyway, though, as theme park enthusiasts across the blogosphere reported all 4 Disney parks in Orlando sold out of the special pass on November 25th, and that has already sold out on December 22nd. Representatives of Universal did not respond to a request for comment. I think when you look at those two approaches, they're giving Disney a lot of credit here. Universal's filing patents and they have filed multiple patents with like AI-based technology to help like curb bad guest behavior. We talked about in a previous video about that, about making wait times more efficient, maybe getting the park more efficiently. Like they're doing innovative technology-based things to potentially, they haven't implemented these systems yet, but they're filing patents for these things to hopefully help with the guest experience. Whereas Disney just slaps on Premier Pass, which is basically Universal's Express Pass, and just charges double the amount in many cases for it. And they're giving them credit as they're trying to solve this problem. I think Disney's trying to bolster their bottom line so they can show making more money from the parks. I don't really think what Disney's doing here with Lightning Lane is innovative or really trying. So I think this is very interesting the way they worded that. Because, now Disney may be doing things as well. I'm sure they have some patents on certain things. But in this article, just mentioning that, it's kind of weird to me because, again, it just shows Universal is actually being innovative and trying new things, or at least filing patents for new things to try and deal with this issue, whereas Disney's just trying to make money off of it directly. So everybody's trying to make money off. Don't get me wrong. Everybody's trying to make money off of it by getting people to come to the parks, buy their things. But Universal, it looks like in the way that they're approaching it, are trying to make a lot of these times where it's like pinch points where people are waiting longer and they know that guest satisfaction, looked at that study they showed in the survey, that this affects how people feel about their trips, trying to figure out ways in which they perhaps could make this better and more efficient for people versus Disney's just charging more. So I think there are two different approaches here. Now, in terms of what they'll be able to do here, I mean, wait times are one of those things like you're going to have wait times regardless, especially if you're a popular theme park destination. It's basically like it's just the good and the bad of it. If something is really popular and people want to go to it, which means more people are going, so you're going to wait in line. But if you are able to have these systems in place where the wait times aren't as bad, you have queue lines where they're not as bad. They've tried the virtual queues. Disney still does them a lot. Universal was trying them for a bit, and I think a lot of people haven't really liked the virtual queue experience because, again, one thing, people don't want to wait in lines, but at the same time, if there is a ride that you are just dead set on riding and you really, it's vital to your trip, that's one reason why you went, I don't think a lot of people like the idea that it's just basically a lottery on your phone, whether you are able to get a virtual queue for a ride. And if you don't get it, you don't even get a chance to ride it. Whereas I think a lot of people, if it is that important to them, would rather stay in line for 2 hours to ride a ride they want to ride versus not even having the chance. And I think that's something too. I understand virtual queues and their purpose, but at the same time, I also understand people that are really just wanting to ride a ride really badly and not even having the chance to do it. And I can imagine it would just leave you with a really bad taste in your mouth. You spent all this money to go, and let's say you wanted to ride Hagrid's, and you don't even get a chance to ride it. I don't think that's going to set well with people. And how many of those people would want to come back? Things like that start affecting how people feel and the value they're receiving on their trip. And like I said earlier, it's like a balancing act. I think Disney likes to show higher wait times. One of the reasons being they want to sell people on their Lightning Lane passes. So if you look at a wait time and it shows 45 minutes and you're like, oh, I don't want to wait 45 minutes, and you buy the Lightning Lane because you can get a time and wait for 10 minutes, That's one reason why they do that. Now, historically, Disney has always overinflated their wait times. And I'm sure Universal does the same thing. Sometimes, it's not perfect. Like, it's just a guess. Sometimes it's much less. Sometimes it is more. But I think usually theme parks aim to under-promise, over-deliver. So they would rather say if they think the wait time is 30 minutes, let's just say it's 45 minutes. And then when you get through at 30 minutes, you feel better. You're like, oh, it wasn't that bad. I think that works better than saying something's going to be a 20-minute wait and ends up being an hour-long wait. I think that is something that people definitely don't like to see. So I think that's one reason why theme parks do that. So I guess in Disney's defense on some level, they've always inflated wait times to some degree. They also use it as a way to push people around the parks a bit. If they'd rather people go to this side, they can show lower wait times here or higher wait times here to try and move crowd flows. But now that they're selling Lightning Lane Multipass and Premier Pass directly in the app now, where you're checking the times, it does bring that into question. Are these wait times accurate, or are you just inflating them because you want people to buy your Lightning Lane offering that you have? That is a valid question, I think, because it's in terms of you're influencing people based on the thing they don't want to do, where they can just alleviate the issue right then and there. So I get it from a marketing aspect, but I also get it from what's the intention behind it. And we'll probably never know fully there, but that is something that does bring that into question. Now, I do think Universal's system with their Express Pass and the way they run that system does mean better wait times, generally speaking, because you don't have as many people with the Express Passes in the lines. Therefore, it doesn't impact the standby lines as bad. I think this is one thing that has impacted Disney for a while, is you've got not only, Multipass, the Lightning Lane Multipass people, you've got the Premier Pass people, and for a long time, you had the DAS people that were clogging up and a lot of people using the Lightning Lanes. So even if you got a Lightning Lane, you were still waiting 20, 30 minutes, if not more. And if you're waiting that long in Lightning Lane, you can only think about the standby line and see how long that wait time would be. And the fact that Disney sells a lot more Lightning Lane multi-passes versus Universal. They don't sell as many of those passes because they are more expensive, or you get them when you stay at a Premier Resort. So again, they're not impacting the lines as much. When you have a lot of people using the Lightning Lane multi-pass, it is going to affect the standby line. And I think this is something that I've always felt that Disney would be better off, and they may eventually move to this as they introduce the Premier Pass, but having more of a Universal-like system does work best, in my opinion, for not affecting standby as much. And if you do get this pass, it works really, really well. So I think Universal does a better job with that. And I think that as time goes on with these new lands and these new parks are being built by everybody, but are going to have much more interactive cues, things for you to do, so the wait in line doesn't seem as bad. And then perhaps as well doing things to help speed up those times. Because again, if you're not waiting in line, you're able to potentially buy things and do other things that will lead you, A, to spend money, but B, want to come back. So I think there is incentive by all the theme parks to reduce wait times as much as possible, even though I think sometimes I like to show the wait times because it shows the demand of the product. But again, that is something you have to balance with, because if people don't want to wait in line that long, they may not come back. So it's always an issue with theme parks, but I thought this article was interesting in that I think Universal is taking pretty technological steps in trying to alleviate some of the issues in the parks, bad guest behavior, wait times, and things. Now, they may not implement these systems they have patents for, but I do like the idea that they are working on this and thinking of new ideas outside the box of ways in which to help guests, get through lines quicker, get through these pinch points, and just, have a better time, because they do have a financial incentive to do this, because if people are enjoying themselves more in the park, they will likely spend more money when they come back. So there is financial incentive with that way. I just think Disney is looking at it just saying, let's just sell them a really expensive Express Pass, and that will alleviate the problem for those people. But I don't think they're solving the overall issue, at least from what this article is saying here, in terms of I don't know of any patents. I'm sure they have stuff out that they're working on, but this has always been an issue with the park. By the way, I thought it was an interesting aspect. I won't be surprised if some of the stuff they mentioned here with Universal is in Epic Universe, as that is something that a lot of people are concerned about with Epic Universe, are the wait times when that park opens and demand that's there. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see when it does open, what that does look like, but hopefully they've got things in place that will help speed up those lines, rides that have high capacity, all the things that go into that. But either way, they'll probably never solve this fully. This is an evolving thing that theme parks are always looking at. But as time goes on, I do hopefully think that, using technology and different methods to help reduce wait times, or at least not seem like you're in line as long as you are good things for the guest and the companies themselves. But either way, that's going to be it though for this video. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel, as we do lots of coverage here of Universal Studios, Epic Universe, Disney World, and pop culture. And let us know in the comments, what do you think would be some good methods to help alleviate wait times in theme parks? And until next time, we will see you in the parks.